You know what's better than a good movie? Another good movie. You know what's better than another good movie? Another good movie. You know what's better than another good movie? Another good movie. You know what's better than another? Okay, you get the point. I love a good movie franchise. Some movies don't need a franchise. Some are really good at creating an entire character development arc in one movie and explaining the entirety of the plot. But I also love when I can watch multiple movies and really fall in love with a character's story. Now, some movies do a really good job of pacing their sequels, and some don't. And by bad pacing, I mean 20 years of Vin Diesel talking about how important family is. Like seriously, after Tokyo Drift, Fast and the Furious really went downhill. Or at least so it looks like, because I haven't actually seen Fast and the Furious since Tokyo Drift. I'm not a big car guy, but I can appreciate a cool car movie. When you have The Rock breaking a cast by straightening his arm, which I'm sure he could, not with a broken arm, and cars having a drag race against a fucking submarine, I tap out. There's just too much crazy shit going on at that point for me. Do I expect movies to be 100% realistic all of the time? No, but I don't expect a massive jump from drift racing in Japan to drag racing a fucking submarine. Seriously, what the fuck was that? And the whole reason I'm making this sequel video is because I recently watched Top Gun Maverick, and admittedly, I hadn't seen the first one until after I watched Maverick. The thing about Top Gun sequel is it wasn't a sequel that anyone knew that they needed 40 years after the original movie came out. Granted, Top Gun came out a long time before I was even born, so I couldn't tell you if people actually wanted a sequel back then. I could call my dad, I guess. Did you think Top Gun needed a sequel when it came out?
No.
Well, there you fucking go. But I think releasing sequels like this is kind of genius. You're able to go into a fan base that's super nostalgic about a movie and about characters and about stories, and they want to see whatever happened to them so many years later. You also have that generation 40 years later who has their own kids and is able to, connect with them and show them the characters and the stories that they watched as a kid. You're really able to create a whole new fan base that can appreciate it and, like myself, go and watch the original for the first time. And I only watched the original because I enjoyed the sequel so much, and watching the original only made me appreciate the sequel that much more. And again, it might not be a sequel that was needed, but it's one that was really enjoyed and actually kind of tied some things together pretty nicely. In the original, Maverick never really comes to terms with Goose's death. He still, you can tell he blames himself still. He hasn't really let go of that. But being able to work with and even save Goose's son really is what lets Maverick develop and finish that arc, that kind of redemption that we didn't get to see him go through for 40 years. When I first saw the sequel, I thought that the Penny, is that Penny? Peggy, some fucking stereotypical name from the 80s. I thought that had been his main love interest throughout the entire first movie, and my parents told me that they never even show her in the original. She's just someone that they mention a couple times.
And one admiral's daughter.
And so when I finally saw the original, I was really surprised that that's all that she was. She didn't have a face at all. And being able to finally give her a face in the second movie, my parents talk all the time about how cool it is to actually see the girl that Maverick was supposedly in love with before. I honestly just think that the sequel to Top Gun was really well timed, where you have both the original and a new fan base that can really appreciate both movies. Now, somewhere in the middle of Top Gun and Fast and Furious' style of releasing sequels lies Jurassic Park. And originally, Jurassic Park did something really similar to Top Gun, where you wait so long to where you are able to kind of reinvigorate that old fan base, but also you can create a whole new one based on these new characters and this new story. Where I think they really messed up was giving it as many sequels as they did. I don't think Top Gun needs a third movie. I'm totally okay with them ending it now. Jurassic Park should have done the same thing. When it came to Dominion, I feel like Jurassic Park really didn't care so much about the quality of the film overall and just wanted to create a lot of fan service. Sure, the whole basis of the franchise is outlandish and unrealistic, but within their universe, they've kept it, generally realistic, with a couple asterisks attached to it. But when you have a person outrunning a dromaeosaur on top of a fucking building, no. No. And I would say that Dominion's fan service was up there with Top Gun Maverick, bringing back original actors and tying them to the new faces of the franchise. The only thing that really hindered Jurassic World Dominion's fan service was the terrible writing and just how they kind of forced everything. And trust me, I know it's fake. I know. Don't worry, I'm not lost on that. But you can show it a lot better than what Dominion did. I didn't even write this part into the video, but fucking Avatar is doing its own goddamn thing with sequels. No one really gives a shit anymore. Of course I do. I'm gonna go see that movie 20 fucking times. But the overall public, I think, is where you're gonna lose a lot of people. People have been asking for the sequel to this movie for 10 years, and I think that you just waited too long to finally give it to them. I think the only way that they can justify waiting this long for a sequel is if it's just as good as the original and they're able to produce more sequels within reason. And before anyone says, oh, what about Marvel and all their 50 movies? I can distinguish Thor 4 from any of the other Marvel movies. Marvel does a really good job of distinguishing each character's own arcs and storylines from one another. Do they have tie-ins? Yes, but that's how you make a good franchise. You have good spin-offs, you have good original stories, and you're able to tie them in seamlessly, which Marvel has done for almost 20 years. So again, I love nothing more than a good franchise, but you gotta do it right.